Making the headlines tonight. Prime Minister Hun Sen stated the leaders of the ASEAN and the US have not agreed on the current arrangement plans for the special ASEAN-US summit due to the end of the month. Prime Minister Hun Sen has warned Cambodians not to try to be soldiers on the Ukrainian territory. Entering the war between Russia and Ukraine will add fuel to the flame. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken says what Ukrainians are doing is inspiring to the world, and the world is united in support of Ukraine. Two legends of Australian cricket, Rodney Marsh and Shane Warne, take their last walk across the Oval. We bid them farewell. They will be remembered. And a couple of Ukraine's territorial defence unit decided to tie the knot after 20 years together in combat uniform, a veil, a chapel nearby, rings and vows were exchanged. This is the Daily Roundup on EAC News Channel. A very good evening to you. I'm Anthony Ellis. Prime Minister Hun Sen has stated that the leaders from the ASEAN countries and United States have not agreed on the current arrangement plans made for the upcoming special ASEAN-US summit to be held in the United States at the end of the month. The Prime Minister made this remark while speaking at the inauguration ceremony of the Cambodia-China Tabon Kamum Friendship Hospital on Monday morning. EAC News reporter Dekaning has more.
Prime Minister Hun Sen has said that if the date for the special ASEAN-US summit is not agreed upon in time, it will likely be postponed. He explained that many ASEAN leaders have asked for the meeting to be held on the 26th and 27th of March, but the US, along with 3 ASEAN leaders, have said that this proposed date did not work for them. The Prime Minister also continued that since there are differing views on when the summit should be held, he recommends postponing it and also proposes holding the summit sometime between March 28th and April 7th. He added that he will not be able to go abroad from mid-May to mid-June because that is when Cambodia will be holding elections, and therefore he will need to stay in the country. The White House announced on the 28th of February 2022 that a special summit between ASEAN and the United States will be held at the end of March. However, ASEAN member states have not yet confirmed their participation or put a disagreement on the set dates. Nekanin, EAC News.
Prime Minister Hun Sen has warned Cambodian people not to try to be soldiers on the Ukraine territory, as entering the war between Russia and Ukraine will only add fuel to flames and further contribute to turmoil of the war. He made this statement while speaking at the inauguration ceremony of the Cambodian-China Tabon Kamum Friendship Hospital on Monday morning. EAC News reporter Dashana Gudgeon has more details.
Prime Minister Hun Sen has announced that he would not allow the Cambodian people to go and fight in the Russia-Ukraine war. He added that in the past, even when sending Cambodian Blue Helmet troops under the United Nations umbrella to undergo peacekeeping operations in other countries, he would not be able to sleep while fearing for the lives and safety of the Cambodian people. On 27 February, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky announced the creation of the International Legion of Territorial Defense of Ukraine, which would allow willing foreigners to join the fight against Russia on Ukrainian territory. Some European countries have allowed their citizens to go to war. 12 days have now passed since Russia launched a major offensive against Ukraine on 24th February. Russian President Vladimir Putin has justified this action by saying there was an urgent need for Russia to launch a military operation to demilitarize Ukraine in order to protect the Donbas Republic and to ensure that Russia will not be under NATO threat from Ukrainian territory. More than 1.5 million Ukrainians have so far fled the country and crossed borders to seek refuge in neighboring countries. The UNHCR has warned that the humanitarian crisis in Ukraine is just beginning. Darshana Gauchan, EAC News.
The Chinese ambassador to Cambodia, Wang Wingting, has said that China has always stand with Cambodia in fight against COVID-19, saying that China will continue to provide assistance to Cambodia to overcome the global pandemic. He made this statement while speaking in the inauguration ceremony of the Cambodia-China Friendship Hospital in Tabong Kamon on Monday morning. EAC News reporter Darshana Gauchan has more.
The Chinese ambassador stated that in a few days, China will begin sending teams of doctors abroad, and the first team is set to come to Cambodia. He added that he is confident that Cambodia will overcome the COVID-19 pandemic, saying that as long as China and Cambodia join hands, there are no difficulties that both countries cannot overcome. He further congratulated Cambodia for the achievement of the new hospital in Tabong Kamon province, which will contribute to improving the well-being of people in the northeast of the country. The hospital was built with a $50 million grant from the Chinese government and was completed in late 2021. Darshana Gauchan, EAC News.
The Cambodian-China Friendship Hospital in Tabong Kamon province was officially inaugurated on Monday morning by Prime Minister Hun Sen after more than 32 months of construction. The hospital's construction with the help of the grant for more than $50 million from the People's Republic of China and is one of the largest and most advanced general hospitals in Tabong Kamon province. EAC News reporter Deccan Nin has the details.
Located in Nikomle Village, Stralok Commune, Tabong Kamon District in Tabong Kamon Province, the Cambodia-China Friendship Hospital has an emergency ward, a medical ward, an outpatient ward, an infectious disease ward, a supply ward, an electrical ward, and a morgue. This large hospital also has 25 consultation rooms, an imaging center to conduct procedures such as MRIs, CT scans, and gastroenterology tests, 6 operating rooms, 10 ICU rooms, and 300 beds for patients. The Minister of Health, Mam Bon Heng, spoke at the inauguration ceremony on Monday morning that this hospital is the second major construction project executed in Cambodia with a grant from the Chinese government, the first being the Cambodia-China Friendship Samat Hospital. He added that this new achievement is an invaluable and precious bond that emerges from the friendship, cooperation, and comprehensive strategic partnership between the Royal Government of Cambodia and the Government of the People's Republic of China that is as strong as steel. This achievement was made for the people of Tabong Kamon and other northeastern provinces, which contribute significantly to the Royal Government's policy on universal health services, especially for the marginalized and minorities, ensuring no one is left without access to health care. The hospital's inauguration ceremony was attended by government officials, doctors, and members of the general public, with a total of about 700 people in attendance at the hospital site. Speaking with some of the attendees, they expressed happiness in receiving this new hospital as it will alleviate the hardships of traveling to faraway hospitals to receive medical care. The deputy chief of Plang Village in Stralok Commune, Tabong Kamon District, Mau Kok, said that the establishment of an operational hospital in the province makes people happy because there's no need to travel far away to receive health services.
In the past, it was difficult. We had to travel very far when someone was ill. We have to go to Phnom Penh or Kampong Cham, but now our province has a kind of hospital, like Mudamakuri. It's so close, like say Karachi. Having a good doctor nearby makes things so much easier. It helps a lot from the travelling to extra expenses. We are close to the hospital now, so it is not hard. We stay close, everything is close. Travelling by road is easy, not difficult.
67-year-old Sansaray, a resident of Pim Romit village, also in Roundup commune, said that when he was sick before, he would have to go all the way to Phnom Penh or even Vietnam to receive treatment.
We have to spend a lot. Everything was difficult, including the road, and it was very far. Very difficult for the family members who would follow to take care of me. It was difficult, but now that the hospital is closed, I'm happy. Thank you for helping us have a hospital so close by.
The hospital began construction on the 1st of March 2019 and was completed on the 27th of October 2021, with a total of 8 buildings and 5 floors with a height of 24 meters in Nikom Le Village, Roundup Commune, Bông Pông District, Bông Pông Province. Additionally, the building covers an area of 55,814 square meters within a total area of 75,570 square meters. Speaking at the inauguration ceremony, Prime Minister Hun Sen stated that the Bông Pông Cambodia-China Friendship Hospital is the largest and most capable hospital compared to other provinces, and will not only serve the people of Bông Pông Province, but also those living in neighboring provinces as well. He thanked the People's Republic of China for the help provided to build this hospital. The Prime Minister also called on doctors to continue being conscientious and professional, to have good morals and a good attitude towards patients. He continued that in the context of COVID-19, people have dubbed doctors and frontline workers as the White Army, so he hopes that they will continue to keep this name in mind while doing their work. Dekanin, EAC News.
Cambodia has reported 306 new COVID-19 cases, including 42 which are imported. There have been 482 patient recoveries and 1 new death. Cambodia has now recorded 31 consecutive days of triple-digit case figures of Omicron variant. The Kingdom has recorded 264 new community cases, 42 imported cases of that new variant, meaning that Cambodia has now recorded 12,267 cases of Omicron, 1,063 imported and 11,204 community cases. The Kingdom COVID-19 case tally has now climbed up to 132,708. The death toll now stands at 3,042. The number of patients treated successfully since the pandemic reached Cambodia is 126,921, and the tally for imported cases climbed up to 20,920. Healthcare workers are now currently treated a total of 2,669 patients. Now look up the news making international headlines this Monday the 7th of March.
Ukrainian military have helped residents in the city of Irpin to escape as heavy Russian shelling hit on Sunday, March 6. Abandoning buildings on fire and carrying plastic bags, people took the only escape route out of the town with their children and pets in the attempt to reach bus and vehicles that would take them to safety. Ukrainian police have said there was relentless Russian shelling and air raids in the northeast Kharkiv region, reporting many casualties, while the United Nations World Health Organization have said there had been several attacks on Ukrainian healthcare facilities. Irpin is located 24 kilometers from the capital, Kiev. Moscow and Kiev have traded blame over Saturday's March 5 failed ceasefire to allow civilians to flee Mariupol and Volnovakha, 2 southern cities besieged by Russian forces. Ukraine has said more talks were set for Monday, March 7, but Russia was less definitive. People who have been able to escape Ukraine have spilled into neighboring Poland, Romania, Slovakia, and elsewhere. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has called on those in areas occupied by Russian troops to fight.
Over 1.36 million people have fled Ukraine since the start of the special military operation launched by Russia on February the 24th, with Poland taking in over 756,000 refugees, according to the latest UN data released on Saturday. According to the United Nations Refugee Agency, a total of 1,368,864 people have fled their homes seeking safety, protection and assistance. Most of the refugees are going to neighbouring countries such as Poland, Romania, Slovakia, Hungary and Moldova. As the situation continues to unfold, an estimated 4 million people may flee Ukraine, said the agency. The bloc has relaxed its rules on refugees and said its member states will welcome them with open arms. In the light of emergency and paramount humanitarian needs of refugees from Ukraine, an inter-agency regional refugees response is being carried out in support of refugees hosting countries' efforts in the UNHCR. The agency has also said that the situation in Ukraine could be Europe's largest refugee crisis in this century.
Italian police have seized villas and yachts worth at least 140 million euros, or about $153 million from 4 high-profile Russians who were placed on a European sanction list following Moscow's attack on Ukraine, sources said on Saturday, March 5th. A police source has said a villa owned by a billionaire businessman Alisher Osmanov on the Mediterranean island of Sardinia and a villa on Lake Como owned by state TV host Vladimir Soloviev had both been seized. In addition, sources have confirmed that yachts belonging to Russia's richest man Alexei Mordashov and Gennady Timchenko, who has close ties with Russian President Vladimir Putin, were impounded overnight in the northern Italian ports of Imperia and Salerno. Russian oligarchs are believed to have bought numerous villas in choice Italian locations over the past 20 years, and sources have said more assets were expected to be seized in coming days as Western states implement massive sanctions to try to force Russia to withdraw from Ukraine. Italian banks were instructed by the Bank of Italy's Finance Intelligence Division on Friday, March 4th, to urgently let it know of all measures taken to freeze the assets of people and entities placed on the European Union list. Uzbekistan-born metals and telecoms tycoon Osmanov is well known in Italy for owning multiple properties on Sardinia, while Italian media say Mordashov owned a villa worth some 66 million euros, or about $72 million on the same island. Taking into account the assets of his whole family, Forbes magazine estimates that Mordashov had an estimated net value of $29.1 billion before sanctions hit. His 215-feet yacht, the Lady M, had a price tag of 65 million euros, or about $70.70 million, while Timchenko's boat Lena was worth some 50 million euros, or around $54 million, a police source has said. Timchenko made a fortune in oil trading and has been described by Putin as one of his closest associates. Soloviev has reportedly complained on Russian television when he found out last month that he risked losing his Italian villa. He was quoted as saying that Europe has sacred property rights.
United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken says what Ukrainians are doing is inspiring the world, and the world is united in support of Ukraine against Russia's aggression.
United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken has talked to refugees from Ukraine in Korzowa, Poland on Saturday, March 5. At the refugee camp, Blinken has listened to several refugees who spoke about the situation in Ukraine. Blinken has said that what Ukrainians were doing was inspiring the world, and the world is united in support of Ukraine and against Russian aggressions. He has also thanked helpers for their support. U.S. helpers are serving about 30,000 meals across all the border points every day. More than 1 million people have fled Ukraine following Russia's invasion of the country on February 24. Poland, whose Ukrainian community of around 1 million is the region's largest, has accepted nearly 800,000 Ukrainian refugees, Polish Deputy Minister of Internal Affairs Powell Zikpernaker has told reporters. The number of refugees has risen to 1.5 million on Sunday night from 1.3 million, the UN Refugee Agency chief has said. Women and children, often numbed with exhaustion, have continued to pour into Poland and other neighboring countries, as well as into western Ukrainian cities, such as Kyiv. As United Nations Monitoring Mission has said, at least 351 civilians had been confirmed killed and 707 injured in Ukraine so far since the start of the invasion on February 24, adding that the real figures were likely to be considerably higher.
An airport in central Ukraine was completely destroyed by 8 Russian missiles. The Ukrainian president has confirmed an address as he urged the West to send more aircraft. It happened as Zelensky's repeat urgent plea for West to impose a no-fly zone over Ukraine to stop the Russian combat aircraft and all its terrorists.
Мені доповіли про ракетний удар по Вінниці.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said Russian rockets have completely destroyed the civilian airport of the central western region, capital of Vinnytsia, on Sunday, March 6th. Earlier, the authorities reported emergency services were working to put out fires at the airport caused by the rocket strikes. The Ukrainian president was quoted saying, "If you don't give us at least planes so we can protect ourselves, there's only one thing to conclude. You want us to be killed very slowly." The barraged airport is roughly a 4-hour drive away from Kiev, according to Google Maps. European Union leader Charles Michel has said closing Ukraine's airspace could spark a world war. Zelensky has repeatedly called on NATO countries to stop the Russian onslaught on his country by imposing a no-fly zone. Western leaders have so far refused for fear of triggering a wider war in Europe. Deploying fighter jets over Ukraine could, in current circumstances, be considered as NATO's entry into the war and therefore risk World War III, Mr. Michel made clear in an interview. Mr. Michel has denied that economic sanctions against Russia constitute a war of the European Union or NATO against Russia. Russian President Vladimir Putin has linked the West's economic punishment for his invasion of Ukraine to declaring war on Moscow. Mr. Michel has said European and American allies impose sanctions to create pressure and hurt the Russian regime, not the people. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Zelensky's wife has pleaded the media to tell the terrible truth about Putin's troops killing children consciously and cynically. Olena Zelensky has said Russians had been killing Ukrainian children since Putin's forces invaded on February 24th.
The US Ambassador of the United Nations on Sunday, March the 6th, has said that US troops would not be on the ground or in the air in Ukraine in the wake of the Russian invasion.
The remarks by the U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, were in response to Kiev's appeals to the West to toughen sanctions beyond existing efforts. It also requested more weapons, including a plea for Russian-made planes to help it repel Russian forces. Greenfield has added that doing so would escalate this war and make this an American war against the Russians.
George, President Biden has been very, very clear that American troops will not be put on the ground or in the air to escalate this war and make this an American war against the Russians. But we've also been very clear that we will support Ukraine in every other way possible. We have provided them over $1 billion in support over the course of the past few days. Billions prior to that. We're providing them training. We're working with our allies and the frontline countries, the border countries, to support their efforts as well.
We've also been very clear that we will support Ukraine in every other way possible. We have provided them over $1 billion in support over the course of the past few days, Thomas Greenfield has also said. The West, which calls Putin's reasons for invading baseless, has expanded efforts to rearm Ukraine, sending in items from Stinger missiles to anti-tank weapons. But Washington and its NATO allies have resisted Ukraine's appeals for a no-fly zone for fear that it would escalate the conflict beyond Ukraine's borders. It's not just some rule you pass that. It's the willingness to shoot down the aircraft of the Russian Federation, which is basically the beginning of World War III, Florida Republican Senator Marco Rubio has said.
After the break, a look at all the latest sports news.
If it's happening and you need to know about it, you'll get it all right here. EAC News brings you updates and breaking news in English across all of our platforms and channels. The EAC News app, YouTube, Facebook, Telegram, Twitter, and our website www.eacnews.asia. Join me and the rest of the EAC News team every day on your favorite channels. EAC News, Cambodia made clear.
Australians say goodbye to the greatest cricketers in Australian history, one of the greatest wicket-keepers, Rodney Marsh, and one of the greatest spinners of all time, on and off the field, Shane Warne. Both had died of heart attacks. They will be sadly missed.
One of the finest bowlers of all time, whose talent and personality transcended cricket, Warne died aged 52 on Friday, a day after arriving on the island of Koh Samui for a vacation. Warne, who ended his spellbinding international career in 2007 with a remarkable 708 test wickets, died from a suspected heart attack in Koh Samui, Thailand, his family confirmed in a statement. Shane was found unresponsive in his villa. Despite the best efforts of medical staff, he could not be revived, the statement read. Credited for reviving the art of leg spin, Warne made his test debut in 1992 against India, and by the time he ended his 15-year international career, the spinner had established himself as one of all-time greats of the game. He also had 293 wickets from 194 one-dayers and won the Man of the Match award when Australia beat Pakistan in the 1999 World Cup final. Warne's death comes hours after another former Australian cricket great wicket-keeper Rod Marsh died on Friday at the age of 74. Warne's last post on Twitter, 12 hours before his death was reported, was a tribute to Marsh. Sad to hear the news that Rod Marsh has passed. He was a legend of our great game and inspiration to so many young boys and girls. Rod cared deeply about cricket and gave so much, especially to Australia and England players, sending lots and lots of love to Rod and the family. Marsh, who played 96 tests in the 1970s and 1980s, died in Adelaide 8 days after suffering a heart attack while on his way to a charity event in Queensland. Regarded as one of Australia's finest wicket keepers, Marsh retired in 1984 with a then world record tally of 355 dismissals from behind the stumps. Marsh made his test debut against England in November 1970 and scored 3,633 test runs during a career that lasted more than 13 years. He famously combined with fellow Western Australian fast bowler Dennis Lillee to take 95 wickets during the pair's test career together. Sad to see two legendary cricketers go so close together. They will be missed.
Most athletes spend a lifetime perfecting one discipline, but American Ukraine Arsana Masters talented earned her a 12th Olympic medal across winter and summer games at Beijing Paralympics on Sunday.
Silver in the long-distance sitting event in cross-country skiing was a second podium in 2 days for the 32-year-old, who took gold in the biathlon sitting sprint amid emotional scenes at the Zhangjiakou National Biathlon Center. I was trying to upgrade it from Sochi 2014 when I got a silver. I was chasing the gold medal. This is the one race that I was really looking forward to, but I'm so proud of myself, Masters told reporters. Masters finished behind China's Yang Hongqing, and the host nation's Li Panpan secured bronze. I raced this 100% honest, clean, and in the right space, and I just did everything I could. And I'm so happy to bring home a medal for Team USA, added Masters. Ukrainian-born Masters won 2 gold medals in cycling at the Tokyo Paralympics last year, adding to her rowing bronze from London 2012. What made her performance in Tokyo even more impressive was that Masters had been diagnosed with a tumor in her leg during her preparations for the games, but she underwent an operation and made a swift recovery. Masters was born with severe physical defects believed to have been caused by the Chernobyl nuclear disaster and spent her early years in orphanages. Her life changed at age 7 when she was adopted by an American woman, Gay Masters, and taken to the United States, where both her legs had to be amputated above the knee. Masters' adoptive mother was able to celebrate her silver medal in a video call. "I owe a lot to my mom," she said after Saturday's gold before dedicating the win to the people of Ukraine, which has been invaded by Russia. "It is for Team Ukraine and Ukrainian people. I'm so proud to be Ukrainian, to be American, and represent both, and that's the power of sports, that you can represent so much more than just one thing." Masters can add to her medal haul when she competes in 4 more events in biathlon and cross-country skiing. "I'm definitely excited for the rest of the week because I've got some unfinished business," she said.
Mexico Soccer League on Sunday said it would suspend upcoming matches in the stadium of the central city of Querétaro, where violent clashes left 24 people injured, and restricting visiting fans from attending away games.
The brutal attacks among spectators during the Querétaro Atlas match on Saturday sent 26 people, mostly men, to hospital with 3 people in critical condition. Mexico Soccer League also said it would pursue sanctions without detailing who might be held responsible or what the sanctions might include. "We have an immediate challenge to generate a clear and understandable response and effective punishment," said Michael Arriola, president of Mexico's Liga MX League, at a news conference. "We are not going to have any soccer activity here until the case is resolved," he added, referring to Querétaro's Corregidora Stadium. Arriola said owners in the league would meet on Tuesday to discuss further disciplinary measures, including for rowdy fan groups known locally as barras, while government officials pursue investigations. Liga MX suspended Saturday's match after 62 minutes with visitors Atlas leading 1-0, as spectators stormed the pitch. Social media images showed people being brutally beaten, kicked, and dragged in seating areas and hallways of the stadium. Speaking outside a Querétaro hospital on Saturday night, game attendee Hector Ramirez said some attackers wielded belts and knives. "They hit me with a chair and I have the bump right here," he said, pointing to his head. "Where do you get a chair in a stadium?" The governor of Querétaro State, Mauricio Curi, said some probes had been opened for attempted murder. "Even though there are no deaths, we can't say this isn't a tragedy," Curi told reporters. Neither government nor league officials addressed what might have triggered the clashes, which were condemned by both the Querétaro and Atlas teams. Officials said people who appeared in photos lying on the ground, some covered in blood, were alive and being treated in hospital. Curi said in a video on Twitter that some social media and news reports about victims who died from beatings at the stadium were false, adding that he had no reason to lie or hide anything. One man, identified in a photo in his 20s, was being treated for head trauma and light hemorrhaging, said Querétaro Health Minister Maria Perez. The Regional Governing Confederation of North Central America and Caribbean Association Football, which includes Mexico's Liga MX, has urged strong sanctions, while world governing body FIFA called on government authorities to deliver justice for victims. The violence at the La Corregidora Stadium was unacceptable and intolerable, FIFA said in a statement. Mexico will host FIFA's World Cup in 2026, along with the United States and Canada, marking its 3rd time hosting the sport's biggest event.
Now let's have a look at the weather and what you can expect tomorrow. And finally, in this tiring time, members of the Ukraine Territorial Defence Unit, Liza Ivanchenko and Valery Filmovov, decided to seize the day and get married in Kiev checkpoint. With a veil and an army chaplain, the wedding ceremony was a success.
There was no stopping Ivashenko and Filimonov, who decided to affirm their love despite these trying times. Wearing military uniforms, the bride and groom walked down towards the army chaplain, brimming with joy. They exchanged their vows and rings. Lesia said there is no telling on what will happen tomorrow. They must live in the moment and keep hope for a better future. The bride and groom had not planned to wed, although they have been together for 20 years and have raised an 18-year-old daughter together. But the war put things in perspective for them, and the wedding helped lift their spirits. The wedding was attended by members of Ukraine's Territorial Defense Unit who held white roses.
You know what? I want to give the present for everyone, but the present for every Ukrainian to finish the war. It's every Ukrainian have just one goal: to stop the war, to stop the kill civilian people, women. It's huge hope for everyone, not just in Ukraine.
Since Moscow launched the invasion on Ukraine on 24th of February, the civilian death toll has now climbed to 364, including more than 20 children, according to a March 6th United Nations report.
Thank you for watching the Daily Roundup here on EAC News Channel. For more breaking news and updates, check our website eacnews.asia or search EAC News on Telegram or your favourite app store. More of the EAC News team tomorrow night at 8 p.m. We'll see you then.